Okay. Missed that, I don't know.
Ready, Tracy?
Okay. All right, hello, everybody. Welcome. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is going to be an agenda review session for the regular city commission meeting that will take place Monday night, December 11th. Looks like we're going to have 4 presentations. Oh, and this meeting will also be held at Normayo Hall for anybody that's in here or listening online. We're going to move over there. Probably have a big crowd, so we got 4 presentations. T, is there anything you want to talk about in any of the presentations, or just?
Yeah, just briefly, Mayor and Commissioners, 5A, again, the city's being recognized for 100 years of council manager form of government. That's a pretty prestigious recognition on behalf of the FCCMA and ICMA. The City University Class 2 graduation, Katrina will facilitate that on Monday evening, and we will have those graduates recognized and come forward for their, I guess, diplomas, we'll call them, and some photos with the commission. The GFOA Award of Excellence, I'll talk more about that on Monday, but that's a testament to the work of our finance department on the ACFR, the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. So I have to get that right in my head every time. And then the Excellence in Action Awards, for the commission to be aware of this. You may recall in years past, the city manager has given out, the city manager's office has given out recognition awards for Project Leader of the Year. I have made an adjustment to that and am recognizing initiatives that take place within, that align with our strategic pillars, specific projects that highlight what those pillars are all about. So I will give those out Monday evening as well.
Okay. Ordinance second reading, 9A. Commissioners, any questions on that one? We've talked about it. T, anything you want to bring up on that one?
No, sir, I think we discussed these at first reading and all's good there.
So 9B, this was the one I'm struggling with, Eric. I feel like it's too much for that particular parcel. What am I missing here? This is one that's been gnawing at me a little bit, that it's just almost too aggressive for this property. Can you give me any comfort, Eric? Make me feel any better, or T, or anybody?
Sure. So I think what you may want to look at in your packet is an analysis of the surrounding residential densities for this area. Keep in mind, it is on a major arterial road, 6-lane roadway. We have the Cortland Terrace apartments existing that are at 16.4 units per acre. The Cypress Cathedral apartments at 22.9 units per acre. Evergreen and Idlewild, 8.3. Hartridge Landings at 14 units per acre.
Where are you exactly? Are you at historical development potential?
I'm sorry,
or-
before the,
Oh, 2361?
before the ordinance, right before the ordinance in your packet.
Oh, so it's in the summary ordinance.
It's it's on page 9 of 9 in the summary, Mayor.
Okay.
Is what Mr. Labby's referring to.
Okay, there we go.
So the existing PD on the property, PD 8933, would have allowed 724 units at a density of 32.5 units per acre. So the overall average in that area of the community is about 17.8 with that old PUD. It actually reduces it with this new proposed amendment. The actual site will be 26.8 units per acre at its max, and that reduces the overall average in this area to 16.8. Keep in mind that these are the maximums that they can go to.
Yeah.
They still have to engineer for stormwater retention, parking requirements. This particular concept plan contemplates parking under the building. If they don't do parking under the building, that will reduce the developable area of the property because they'll have to provide parking outside of the building. And so likely densities will be a little below the maximums in this PUD.
Is it too early in the game to, of course, I'm worried about the lake, the pollution in the lake, but is it too early in the game to, I guess what I'm worried about the traffic, I'm worried about another traffic light, I'm worried about people coming in and out of here. I'm thinking, we didn't approve a 5-story building out on Thompson Nursery Road for whatever reason. I know we talked about that, but I don't know, I'm just,
Yeah, I think out on Thompson Nursery Road, it was a different story, it was a different character, different area of the community, different character. There were no buildings existing out there of that size or scale. This is, like I said, a 6-lane arterial roadway. It has plenty of capacity for the anticipated trip generation. Whether or not a light would be required, would be subject to the DOT permitting process. And
Havendale is not failing, right? It's a level 2.
right, it's not, yeah, it is not anywhere near failing.
And contemplating this many units, using your formula, how many people would actually be living there at full capacity? I know, was it 2.3 or what do you?
Multifamily's a little less. You can figure about 1.7, 1.8 people per unit on the multifamily side.
So it'd be over 1,000 people trying to get in and out of there, and I'm the only one that has a problem with that, I guess. Because I just feel like it's too much, but
Staff levels analysis is that there's adequate capacity in all of our infrastructure systems to support this, and the density is fairly consistent with what's already out there.
the no workforce housing, that hadn't been talked about at all, no, nothing like that?
It has
No?
not.
No?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, anybody else got any questions, or? Okay, go ahead, T. 9C.
Let me get back to my agenda, sir. 9C is that's the signage one out there at the ILC, just giving them
right,
some
right.
greater sign capacity. And then 9D is amending ordinance for appropriating funds in fiscal year ending September 30th. That's where we have more funds that came in that were not contemplated in the budget, from FEMA reimbursement on hurricanes to interest earnings in the marketplace and such. So it's all positive revenues that came in that we have to appropriate by ordinance.
Okay, item 10 will be swearing in of our new,
I had a question.
newly, okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
T, is there any reason we got 9 is 9 and 10 is 10? We couldn't switch those so that 10 is 9 and 9 is 10?
In terms of the order of the agenda,
Yes.
so second readings historically have occurred before the certification of election and swearing in, because those are items that are coming to you on second reading that were voted by the commission under first reading. So historically, we have always completed our second readings on items before we installed a new commissioner.
Oh, I see.
I thought about that too, and then I felt that's what you were going to say, because
Yeah.
we've already taken up first reading.
That was-
It's
and
really unfair to
I-
the new commissioner to have to vote on that.
Had the exact same questions as you guys, and when I discussed that we looked at all of our old agendas for installation of commissioners and ran that past Mr. Murphy in the attorney's office. It was to allow those that came before on second reading to be considered by the commission that had approved those.
We'll just have to talk fast and get to it. Because I know there'll be a lot of people there fidgeting.
Well,
in their
they'll
seats.
get a good civics lesson in the
Yeah, that's
process. So yes, 10A, certification of our December 5th, 2023 election. Would like to point out that Commissioner-elect Cliff Dawson is here with us this evening, so he's hitting the ground running before he's even installed to get some insights on items that he'll have to give consideration for his votes for on Monday evening. There is, I believe, a canvassing board at 10 a.m. on December 8th that will be the certification of that election. Is that the correct description, Vanessa?
Is
So
that here or is that in Auburndale
That's here,
on the 8th?
yes, it's Friday.
Right, 10 a.m.
Oh, that's right, yep.
In the calendar.
And will they have provisional ballots to review at that point, Vanessa?
Yes, so I received a phone call from the supervisor of elections office at 5 PM today saying that we do have provisional ballots. They don't know the number yet, they're working on those. And so tomorrow they'll let me know, and Latanya and I both have to go together to pick those up and bring those back in time for the meeting.
You know
on
how many it
Friday.
is?
No, they do not have a number.
And we have the post-election audit on the 12th at 11,
Yes.
Yes.
that's
and
correct.
that's in Auburndale too.
No, that's, yes, that one's at the SOA
SOA.
Center.
And that will be the audit, same process that you just went through. So on the 8th, you'll consider any provisional ballots. Those will be opened here, and you'll give consideration to accepting those ballots. And then you'll also identify the precinct
Yes,
and
that's
to
the
be,
random precinct.
the random precinct to be audited. And then on the 12th, they'll do that audit where they hand count and machine count.
Right.
So that will take place under 10A, and then 10B is the swearing in of newly elected commissioner. City attorney will do that, and then that commissioner will be seated and be able to vote on items that follow with consent and thereafter.
I don't mean, back to the post-election audit, do we need everybody have to be there or just one
That has to be a quorum.
quorum?
The only one is required is the logic and accuracy testing, which already passed.
Okay, so we need a quorum on the 12th.
Yes, sir.
Not a problem for anybody? Tracy, 12th, you got it? Okay.
And I believe when you met as a canvassing board Monday, you had identified a alternate chair as Commissioner Mercer in the event
Tracy.
that you had an appointment Friday, if that precluded you from attending, but you'll still have a quorum with
Yeah.
the other three in attendance.
Yeah, I've got a doctor's appointment at 8:30, and it'll be close if I make it back, so I'll try to make it back, but if not, you guys can still do business, so. Okay, on the consent agenda, is there anything else, T, on the certification of elections that we need to go over?
No, sir.
Okay. Consent agenda,
So number 11A, and staff is available to answer any technical questions on these. I'll try and go through these pretty quick. 11A is the Logistics Parkway. We are negotiating some land transactions in that area that will allow us to shorten that road and design it as a straight road instead of one that has a lot of curve and length to it. And this is, as a result, we have to do some changes to the design and permitting of that. This is to our benefit. Will make the road less expensive at the end of the day to construct, but we do have to change some of the designing within that, and that's with Kimley Horn. 11B I want to talk about for just a minute, and I know that I saw Gary's here and David Nicholson, our operator extraordinaire of our wastewater treatment plants. This is for the repair of one of the clarifiers at wastewater treatment plant 3. There are 3 clarifiers out there. This one was scheduled for rehab in fiscal year '24, which we're in. However, it has been offline since late summer due to some structural issues within that clarifier. So we had brought this item forward at $718,710 to do the rehabilitation of the North Clarifier, or what's known as Clarifier 1. This past weekend, we had a structural challenge within one of the other clarifiers. Clarifier 2 had I guess the best way to say it is that the gears that drive around inside of that clarifier that are the scrapers for the floor system of that and the scum removal off the top of it, that whole system basically jammed up somehow and collapsed inside of the clarifier. It didn't damage the structural integrity of the walls or the basin itself, but the motorized components and the structural components that perform the function of the clarifier were severely damaged. This happened sometime Saturday night, early Sunday morning. I was out there along with Gary on Sunday to inspect this with David and get a firsthand look of it. It has not impacted our operation of the wastewater treatment plant, but the reason I bring that up is the company that works with West Tech, this Moss Kelly, they came out to evaluate, how do we fix this clarifier 2? How do we get this back online? They have identified that they can salvage parts off of clarifier 1, which is being considered here, and install those quickly within clarifier 2 to get that back up and running. So they will start that work, David, tomorrow, is that correct? Friday they'll do that, and we think I think they said it's about a week process for them to do it. I'm gonna say it's probably a 2 to 3 week just to be safe, but they're gonna go as quick as they can to get it done. Point of all that, we're gonna move forward with this rehab of Clarifier 1. I'm asking it to be approved at $718,710 with the, just the advance notice that I will be bringing back at a future point a change order. We're executing that with your authorization now, or on Monday, because we're gonna have to add some stuff back into it for what we're taking out of that clarifier to fix number 2. So,
Mayor Pro Tem?
T, you see it's going to take about 3 weeks?
well, I'm saying 3 weeks for us to feel 100% comfortable, but it's probably, the repair work is estimated to take about a week.
Let me raise this question. So what happens if the other one?
We're going to do a collective prayer that everything works great with the other one, and that we don't have that problem. It's functioning good, it's in better condition.
I'm just saying,
But
I'm just,
that's,
we would be up the creek
Gary,
without a
you want to
paddle,
respond to
right?
that, of what the emergency operation would be if we lost a third clarifier in that process? Pump systems coming in and using it as holding tanks?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. The third clarifier is a newer it wasn't part of the original build of the plant, so it's not quite as old as the number 1 and number 2 clarifiers. So that gives us a little bit of comfort level in knowing that it's relatively newer than what was original to the plant. If we were to lose the third clarifier, what would happen is basically we would not be able to meet permit limits for suspended solids. Those would end up going down the river. And that's about
You
the
say
best
down the river,
down the river.
Peace Creek.
So
Peace Creek? Oh,
in
that,
layman's terms, is the clarifier what kind of gets rid of the doo-doo?
So, no,
But it doesn't affect our drinking water, or does
No.
it? That's what I want to
No.
make sure.
Doesn't
we
affect
still-
drinking water at
it
all.
would not affect the drinking water. So the clarifier, basically, in the aeration basins, we're growing bacteria that consume the wastewater, the sewage that comes in. And the clarifier basically is a quiet area where those bacteria settle out. We reuse some of them, we send them back to the front of the plant, and we waste some of them. So it's part of that natural biological process of births and living and dying. So the clarifier just separates the solids from the clear water.
But people would still not get sick because their water's dirty. They could still drink their water, it'd just be.
Has
flushed
nothing to
down
do
toilets.
with potable water whatsoever.
Nothing to do with our
Has
drinking.
nothing to do with potable water. This is, potable water comes from water plants.
I'm not talking about bottled water, I'm talking about water out of your faucet.
Right.
Potable water
Oh, potable.
comes from the water plants. This is wastewater. So this is the sewage side of the house. There's no interconnect, there's no correlation between those two whatsoever.
I'm back to the worst-case scenario. People aren't going to get sick, they just may not be able to flush their toilets or take showers or what?
No, they'd
they
still
would-
be able to do all that.
They would still be able to do all that.
It's just how we process what we receive in would be the challenge with that. But you're talking about a doomsday scenario in that regard.
Well, we're down to one clarifier, we have 3.
Right.
Go ahead, Nat.
Is there not, we can't release into the Peace Creek, can we, without DEP?
Well, we have a permit, yes. We would be in violation. It would, we do have the benefit, we have a stilling pond, would help settle some of the solids out, but we would not make permit limits if that was to happen.
Is that what
Hopefully
happened?
it won't happen, but I'm just.
Hopefully, it will not happen, but
Is that what happened in Haines City when they had all that go down the river, so to speak?
they had a similar type situation, yeah.
And they had to pay pretty dearly for that, if memory
Yeah,
serves.
right.
That was pretty
So,
expensive.
but we think the work's only going to take us about a week, so, we'll be saying our prayers during that time, make sure that we're successful.
The other thing I'll say that, let me give a little more confidence with that even. So we are trying to, in the meantime, utilize clarifier 1, which is offline, is kind of an additional overflow basin during the peak high demand of the plant. So, and David and Gary can correct me if I'm wrong, Sunday we were at peak high of about 6 MGD flowing into that plant, and we were able to handle that with a single clarifier. If we exceeded that and couldn't handle that, we would divert some of that flow into clarifier 1 and hold it, and then at a low peak time, which is typically in the middle of the night, pump that back into the system to run it. So we're not overtaxing clarifier 3. We're babying that along the way. We're monitoring it. It's rather than run it wide open.
So potentially we do have some sort of a backup.
We've got strategies to not overstress the system is what we have. But again, getting that clarifier 2 back online as quickly as we can is the major objective right now, and we've got that lined up, ready to roll. And then clarifier 1 coming back online as soon as we can get this repaired. Gary, do you recall what the time frame is for clarifier 1 repairs?
I do not. David, do you recall?
So a little over half a year to get clarifier 1 all the way
I
back
couldn't hear
on.
what he said.
It's a little over
Really bad
30
accident.
weeks to get clarifier 1 all the way back online. So, you know, by, say, June, you know, you're looking, June, July, looking to be back up and at 100% on all 3.
Gary, do you have confidence in this company we've hired? Do you think, can they deliver in a week or 2?
They're a very reputable company, so we have confidence that they'll be able to perform. And this was a catastrophic failure
Yeah.
that we experienced, and we feel comfortable that we'll be back up and running in a week or so.
That's a quick question,
Yeah.
just for argument's sake. Does it make any sense to utilize economy of scales and tackle both 1 and 2, since 2 is
Well-
offline?
You're going to get 2 back online with these repairs right now, quickly. 1, you're going to have to do some engineering on to get, you know, got to get drawings done, you know, really assess what that is. That's what Moss Kelly will come in and do, is they've got to do a little more work on 1. So 2 will be back up quickly.
But
And then ultimately, once you have 1 back on, go back and reassess number 2 and any further enhancements that need to be done with that.
we could be looking at doing number 2, what we're doing on number 1 now.
Right.
Basically, and probably will be realistically, so.
Does the irony
Yes,
not hit on anybody other than me? We're talking about
Yes.
number 1 and number 2?
we're in the number 1 and
In a
number 2
clarifying
business
plant?
right now.
I wasn't
so-
going there, but.
We've been talking about
demented mind.
a new wastewater plant. These plants are just starting to show their age. You know, we've had problems with Plant 2 this year and now Plant 3 twice this year. So definitely we got to start paying attention.
I guess my
to it.
point is, I just don't want to keep a Band-Aid on 2. I'd rather go ahead and knock
Right.
it out if we need to knock it out.
Right.
And yes, absolutely, you want to get number 2 back up to 100%, you know, reliability and full capacity. But you really can't do that until you've got 1 back up.
Because you can't operate on 1.
Yeah, you don't want to be going 6 months operating just on number 3, because that is overstressing that system, in my opinion. I think Gary and David would agree. Let's get 1 back up. Let's get 2 back up to get us moving along. Get 1 fully rehabbed, come back and reassess number 2 and do what we need to do there, and then we should be sitting good for a while.
Gotcha.
Okay, anything else?
Not on
right.
that one, sir.
Thank you, Gary.
Harmony, so the 11C Harmony Master Lift Station, this is a change order for that will add in an additional line there that will help build some resiliency for that system, and also allow it to be somewhat of a bypass should we ever have problems with the Master Lift Station at the Chain Lakes Complex. Item 11D is a gravity main replacement project, and this is out on at Cypress Wood on the road that leads out to the clubhouse. That's been down for a while. We've been chasing repairs on that. It's an old line that continues to crumble under the road. You fix one piece and then it, you know, fails 20 feet further away. So this is a complete replacement of that line. 11E is some travel and training for myself and Deputy City Manager MJ Carnevale to go to the FCCMA Winter Conference in, I believe that one is in February, early February. I'm going to ask HIP to touch on 11F and 11G, if he would. Cybersecurity, Mr. Mayor, I know this is something that you, from your FMIT representation there, that you're well aware of, but let HIP speak to this from a technology standpoint.
Sorry, real quick, these slides show 12. Are we done it? I just didn't, we got it, okay.
Thank you.
It was like, what are we on? Thanks.
Go ahead, HIP.
Go ahead, Hip.
So Tyler Technologies focuses only on public sector. They are a company we've been working with for over 20 years. They actually are supporting our ERP software, which is our finance, HR, community development software. They have a whole new group of super sharp cybersecurity professionals that provide comprehensive cybersecurity services. And so this approach is more of a holistic type of approach, a comprehensive approach to cybersecurity. Includes the governance piece in terms of policy and strategy. So they're providing advice to us on how we should proceed. What are those key things that we need to make sure we attend? Includes testing in terms of penetration testing, vulnerability assessment, as well as even social engineering testing. They will provide advice in terms of monthly calls as well as an annual report to leadership in terms of how we're doing. So it's a comprehensive approach to cybersecurity. So it's not just IT, it's not just technology, it's a holistic approach to dealing with the challenges we have. And obviously it's a top of mind of any CIO and really any city commission leadership that's where out there. So and especially since we're dealing with critical infrastructure and critical functions in government, it's kind of been elevated in everyone's top of mind. So we wholeheartedly believe that this comprehensive approach is the way that we need to take in terms of cybersecurity for our city.
I think I would add to that, Mayor and Commissioners, Tyler Technologies, HIP said we've been using them for over 20 years now. And Commissioner Birdsong probably remembers this. The one time that we had a second meeting in December was an emergency purchase of a new financial management software package. Probably the first year you were on the commission. That is, Tyler Technologies is that company. So they manage our entire enterprise platform for financials, as well as our entire platform for human resources and a handful of other modules that we have built up over the years. So utilizing them on cybersecurity, they would be the fastest to recognize any vulnerability within their own systems at the same time.
So Hip, I serve on the FMIT board, and this is a big thing in the FMIT. When I went out to Oregon, this is all anybody want to talk about. This company, Tyler, because we use them, do we get any kind of reduction in insurance rates, or are they approved by FMIT? I mean, I know you have confidence in them, but I'm wondering if it helps us lower our premiums, or have you ever heard of such a thing?
I haven't heard, but definitely they will probably provide us guidance in terms of making sure our coverages and insurance are appropriate and to be able to engage us in that manner.
AJ, do we have, not AJ,
The other J.
other J, MJ?
CJ.
Huh?
CJ.
CJ. Sorry. CJ, do we have technology insurance through FMIT?
Yep.
You do.
Yeah.
And do you happen to know that do we get a premium discount or anything if we use all these third parties to help us protect ourselves? No? Okay.
It's within the profit or the profit loss, within the property and liability insurance. It's part of that policy overall.
I think you get the discount by not having a claim, which this entity is there in place to help prevent having an issue to where you'd have so indirectly you get your discount, but this is, I assume these folks close all the holes in your system, and they're continuously testing the system against vulnerabilities and whatnot. I mean, financial side, we do it all every day.
When I went to the national convention, everybody had a horror story. Thankfully, we didn't have one. I didn't have to, but I sat there and listened to them, and I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah.
So,
It's
good
scary.
job, HIP. We don't
Scary
have a
stuff.
horror story yet, so.
There was, I just shared an article, I think, in the last week or two, and I'm trying to think of where it was, in California, that had a recent cyber attack.
Long
Yeah.
Beach.
Yeah, Long Beach.
It's expensive. I mean, these guys they want crypto too. They don't want you to pay them in cash. They want Bitcoins. Okay, thank you.
The 11G HIP, you want to just touch on that, to your Nutanix servers, just real quick on that, please?
So this is our continued investment in our Nutanix servers. Basically, they provide our compute power, and they're meant to be running all the time. This Nutanix cluster will replace some legacy Hewlett-Packard servers that we need, that's end of life, that we need replacement. But it's been a very great product and helps us reduce staff time in terms of managing all the capabilities of our server platform.
11H, we're going to get some more of the big belly garbage cans that tell us when they're full and help compact and also serve as hotspot Wi-Fi access points for us. This includes 12 of the new units that will be placed at Trailhead Park and then also at Lake Maud, where we're doing some significant renovations there. Those are the type of sites where this type of equipment is so important. I mean, if you figure Trailhead Park during the summer with all the parties and gatherings that happen there, to be able to know when those trash cans are overflowing or about to before we and can get out there and deal with it before we got a major mess. And I think the same thing will be the case with Lake Maud. The Wi-Fi access will also be significant.
Where about at Lake Mall? Are you going to be
In
on
the
the
new
lake
park.
side or
The new park in where it's being developed is what I'm looking to Julie to see. Yeah, so where the baseball fields and
okay.
football fields are.
And those things, you gotta be 500 feet to them to get internet? Is that kind of the way it works, Julie? Or HIP, or?
The equipment will be able to support up to 500 people simultaneously. Very similar, same equipment that you use in the library. So a lot of it's line of sight. So if if there's something in the way, of course, it'll reduce your ability to connect, but it'll be gigabit connectivity.
Okay.
But what's the range?
How far can you be from it?
So it depends on line of sight. I'd say safely about 150 feet. So we try to place it around where people are sitting and eating and picnics. Obviously, the trash cans are where people would throw their trash, so it makes sense to put it near where people are sitting and people to enjoy the Wi-Fi.
Just far enough away so any odors can't ruin your internet surfacing. On the next item, which is the amendment number 6 to Richard's Fine Coffees. Their current agreement is set to expire in June of 2024. This amendment 6 is being brought forward now that's going to extend that lease to June of 2029 and provides for 2 additional 2-year renewals at the city's option.
Is this contract assignable?
Yes, yep. Absolutely, and has been since day one.
And,
that's my understanding, Mayor, is that's the intent, is that, that Richards is to continue, but perhaps under new ownership, but the same product, same concept, just, Dave looking to do something different after doing that for, I want to say 30 years now.
yeah, it has sold. And I'm just, I'm sure that the new owner will be fine. I just want to make sure that it's an assignable contract.
It is, it's assignable, and Julie Adams and her team have Julie, if you want to approach the podium, have have worked with Dave, and I believe the new owners on that to vet that out fully, and
Yes, and we've worked extensively with John Murphy as well to get all the vetting done for the potential buyer or the buyer to ensure that everything is set to go for a smooth transition.
And we give them a reduced rate so they'll be open certain hours, and refresh my memory on that, if you don't mind.
so when we set this up when we first opened the library in 2004, Intent was to keep people in the downtown area, to have it as a value-added component to the library. We weren't looking for it to be a huge profit source for the city as a whole. It was really about the value-added component. So we structured that lease around that. It's got an annual CPI adjustment on the base rent, which has been the case since day one. And then they cover the costs. The water and sewer is calculated annually based upon actual rates.
This is not like the theater, we're actually collecting rent.
Oh, yeah, it's about $26,000 a year.
Yes, 25.5.
Okay. Well, they do a good job, so. And everybody deserves to retire, so welcome, glad for Dave.
And then 11J is vehicle replacements within Parks and Recreation. Normally, we don't put vehicle replacements on here unless it's something significant. I've included this one. These are all budgeted vehicles within the 24 budget, but it does total for that department alone just shy of $342,000 for, I believe it's 7 vehicles that are being purchased. Obviously, vehicle costs continue to rise. We are recommending within this utilizing their funds that they have within the vehicle replacement fund. There are also what we call cash carry forward funds. These are dollars that were not expended fully within fiscal year '23 that are within the general fund and the internal service fund. And part of this purchase recommends utilizing a total of $30,796 of that cash carry forward balance. Finance has reviewed that and is in agreement with that approach to fund those vehicles.
All right, on the resolution, R 2363.
I'm going to ask Hip to come back and explain this one for everyone's benefit, because I think he can do it much more effectively than I.
So we have Florida statutes that require that each municipality adopt cybersecurity standards. And so this particular resolution adopts particular cybersecurity standards, a particular framework to comply with the Florida statutes, and then allows us to go and affirm compliance with the Florida statutes via the Florida Digital Services Portal. So this is a requirement that needs to be done for any cities over this population of 50,000 on January 1st of 2024. So just simply saying, hey, we're adopting cybersecurity framework for how we operate. And so this is what all cities in Florida are required to do.
Okay. Commissioners, there's also within that statutory requirement some trainings. Hip, does that training apply also to elected officials?
For employees, yes. So that would require every employee in the city.
Would the commission have to go through that training as well, do you know?
I think it would be highly recommended, if not required. It would probably be a 4-hour training. There are free trainings that's provided by the state of Florida through the Cyber Florida structure that we'll be able to leverage to be able to train every employee in terms of cybersecurity standards and building that culture.
I have a feeling we're going to start seeing that at our conferences, FLC, FCCMA, all those that where they'll offer an ethics training. I would see that because they're going to require an annual training for cybersecurity, that you'll probably start seeing that on those agendas as well.
Is this something you're qualified to teach, Hip? I mean, could you do it?
No, there's already a lot of material that's available that I've reviewed, and I think it will work much better in that, because you also get a digital badge that you could say, hey, I've gone through the training, and be able to utilize.
So the training takes place by,
It'll be
virtual?
online. Yes, sir.
On a cyber-secured process, I'm sure.
You'll need a password to get your cybersecurity badge so you can take the classes.
Word of warning.
And then they'll mail you the certificate.
Print it up on a printer.
There will be quizzes, so you'll actually have to.
Yeah. Okay. No food trucks on Central
Yeah,
Avenue.
so I'm going to ask Brittany Hart to speak on this one. She has brought this forward, and give her the privilege of sharing what we got going on there.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Commissioners, Mayor. So recently, we did some enhancements on Central Avenue that included expanding the sidewalks and would allow for businesses to potentially have outdoor seating. We also did added lighting, we did milling and resurfacing of the roadway. We also narrowed the travel lanes and added some new signage. And after all of those improvements, we took a look at the overall safety of Central Avenue, particularly surrounding the safety with the through truck traffic, the commercial truck traffic that is traveling from First Street to 17 utilizing Central Avenue. And it was determined that it's no longer a good area for large commercial trucks to be traveling through, especially as we anticipate additional pedestrians in the area due to those new improvements that we made. So this resolution would allow for no through truck signs to be posted just off of Central Avenue and just off of Highway 17 to discourage commercial trucks from using Central Avenue as a thoroughfare. They would have alternative routes. We would like them to use Cypress Gardens Boulevard or MLK Boulevard to the north to get to 17 or to get to First. But if they aren't able to go to either one of those, they would be able to use Avenue G Southwest or Avenue D Northwest. This would also allow for staff to be able to enter into this information into a program like Waze, which would push it out to a GPS for truck drivers, so they knew that that was no longer a route that they should be using.
Go ahead, Nat.
How are you going to, who's going to police it?
So the resolution it can be enforced. It is enforceable as far as, my understanding is a citation for disobeying a traffic control device.
Yes.
And so it's enforceable to that. The officer would have to see them either leave First Street and travel to 17 or leave 17 and travel to First Street. However, we are really trying to discourage the truck traffic from coming up and down that road. And many of the truck drivers are going to abide by that. And this would allow for us to put it into like a GPS program, like I said. And so it'll automatically ding their GPS and give them a different route. Instead of routing them down Central, it'll route them down Cypress Gardens or Avenue G or Avenue D or MLK, whichever direction they're coming from. So it's really to deter them from coming down it at all.
Is this going to create a hardship on any of the businesses down there?
No, so it's for actual through traffic, so it's ones leaving First Street and traveling straight through to 17 or vice versa. It doesn't have any effect on commercial traffic that is down there to make a delivery to one of the
The
businesses.
delivery trucks are okay.
Yep.
Yes. Because they serve a purpose for actually being there.
But I'll give you an example, Mayor and Commissioners, I shared with the team, coming out of the gym early Monday morning, 6 a.m., and there's an Indian River liquid bulk hauler cruising down Central Avenue, and basically, I don't want to say straddling the center line, but, avoiding the outside curb as much as possible. And that's just through traffic coming through downtown. There's not making any deliveries with a bulk tanker coming through there, or sand trucks or things like that can just create an unsafe situation.
I just want to know if we go police it. I mean,
Yep, so
because
you have to observe it.
people other businesses have said to me, not just now, about the tractor trailer traffic coming down First Street, especially after Dundee Road was 4-lane, and so that's, and that's my only concern is that, if you say you don't want something to happen, then that would be on our police department to enforce, to try to enforce that, and I'm just wondering if we've taken all that in the.
Yes, sir. And I think Ms. Hart said it well, that, eliminating the presence of those vehicles entirely dissolves the problem. And the signage that doesn't exist today, it says no through traffic, the referencing no through traffic within the GPS digital devices that so many people use within those is going to dissuade people from doing that anyways. And then so that's on the front end, that's the proactive side. The reactive side is the ability to issue a citation. And I think the road itself, just the narrowing of that road, I mean, I'm not a truck driver, but I don't know that I'd want to be cruising down Central Avenue in an 18-wheel rig as much as we've narrowed it up.
I would think you'd want a sign on East Central Avenue as well, heading west. 'cause-
You have it on both sides.
I mean, on east of the
17.
red light, east of east of First Street. So there'll be one coming up from Lake Elbert that says no. Okay, gotcha.
So Brittany, as long as you're up there, what's the status of the barrels? When are we going to get rid of the barrels and get, what's your timeframe?
So my understanding, this is not my project, but my understanding of the barrels is that we are waiting on the handrails to be delivered. And once the handrails are delivered and installed, then we'll be able to remove the barrels.
A week, 2 weeks, a month? What do you think, Julie?
We'll switch.
We're looking into early February. That's what the estimated time frame is currently. We don't
Okay.
see any anticipated challenges with that, and that's been communicated to all of the businesses downtown as well. But we'll keep you posted if there are any unanticipated challenges with that date.
Okay.
And I believe, Mayor, that the businesses can pursue can they pursue their application and permit for use of that space now?
Yeah, we just recently completed the application, so I believe it's actually online now, and we can start
And if
that
they
process.
if they were approved, could they start utilizing that space with the barricades that are up in place now as the safety barrier? Do you know?
We've had some discussions on that. I don't think we've made a final decision, but if they're able to maintain the 42 inches, I believe it is, for ADA accessibility around the table, like basically move the table towards the building and make sure that there's a safe distance between the barricade and there's ADA accessibility, that's what we talked about, possibly letting them do that.
Okay. Go ahead, Tracy.
Julie, is all the furniture and everything ready to go when the rails get in and everything, or?
I'm going to defer back to Eric on this one.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry I missed that.
the furniture, outside furniture for the restaurants, is that
The
all?
grant process? Yes, yeah, the grant's available. Again, we just recently finished that application, and we're starting to communicate with the business owners that that grant's, available. We do have a CRA, the Downtown CRA Advisory Committee made a recommendation to increase the amount of that grant, and you'll hear that Monday night as the CRA board.
But Commissioner Mercer, that furniture is actually purchased by the business, not by the city. So they can get up to pending the board's approval on Monday, could get up to a $6,000 grant to help cover the cost of that furniture and umbrellas and the like. But it's up to the business that is getting that grant to procure and install that furniture. We have to approve it to make sure it's of a style and of a character and of an integrity that will fit well within there.
We can tackle this on Monday, but I was just curious, did we make any headway about getting a centralized location or two to where they can go and purchase it from, so we don't have 52 different umbrellas down there and 52 different chairs? And
I know that we have shared some catalogs that we've used in the past with them, for good commercial style furniture. Again, it's going to be, a staff level review to make sure it's of good quality. I don't think the intent was really to, at least at the staff level, to dictate what color their tables and chairs and all that kind of stuff was, but we do want to make sure that it's good commercial quality and looks nice.
I think on that item, again, we're off topic, but I do know that in those spaces that were in front of properties owned by 610, I had seen them down meeting with all of their tenants, and they had actually done blueprint drawings of cantilevered umbrella systems and how tables could lay out there. So I know that they're thinking about how do we get stuff that's consistent in look and quality, and a lot more thought going into it than let's just buy 6 tables and throw them out there. Really trying to maximize the square footage.
I'd hate to see, go down to Lowe's and you get your table and chairs from Lowe's, and that's what you've got down there.
Item 12C on your printed agenda, I think it's 13 on C on the screen. The Florida Commerce Grant Amendment 1. Drew has helped navigate this on behalf of the city managers or city attorney's office. You may recall we have two grants that came into us from the Florida Department of Commerce and Florida Department of Transportation for the Pollard Road extension. We needed to do some amendments within those. There's no financial impacts of these, but these really tie back to the spend down of the funds that we have. In this case, the Department of Commerce, that we have to spend that money down by June 30th of 2024. The project, however, doesn't have to be completed by June 30th of 2024. We actually have a time extension that takes the entire project completion out to January 6th of 2027. So, but we do have to spend down their funds by that time. So that's what this item 2365 pertains to. Drew, anything beyond that?
No, T, well, I guess the only thing I would add, Mayor, Commissioners, is that it is anticipated that the spin down will occur prior to this deadline. And certainly, once that spin down has happened, under the grant agreement, we would become eligible to receive those dollars back in the grant. So this is a good amendment, we think, and it eliminates some of the other hurdles we might have seen in accomplishing that project. So.
And that project has been awarded. That was on your agenda last meeting. Just follow up on that. It was contingent, approval by the commission contingent upon not receiving any protests the following day, and we had not received any. Right. So. And then the next item is the same thing that pertains to the Department of Transportation, and it extends their timeline out to June 30th of 2025. So two different timelines going with DOT money's a little shorter window than or project window than the DEO project. But again, we fully expect that project will be well complete before the DOT deadline.
Okay. New business. Real property purchases.
Drew, you want to take that one?
Sure, no problem. I'm happy to, thank you. Mayor, Commissioners, this is the purchase of the, what we have been calling internally the Bradco property. It's the BF 1500 LLC parcel of land. This is roughly 370 acres, a generous portion of which are slated to either be now or become environmentally sensitive wetlands, and would enable us to have a really neat beneficial project for water restoration, sort of the start, if you will, of the Sapphire Necklace. The purchase and sale agreement we've been negotiating over the last several months. We have had great negotiations with the sellers. We've reached a purchase price for the property. We've reached a reasonable purchase and sale agreement. That purchase and sale agreement is intended to be brought before you for execution on Monday, and we would use the loan proceeds from the recent borrow or a recent bond amount to pay for the property, which we would close then on that following Friday. So it's a very quick purchase and sale. Reason being is that all of our due diligence has been done ahead of time. And so we've examined title. Title is fine. We've examined all of the environmental concerns. We're good. And this property really is going to end up becoming the P3 project with RES. And so that's ultimately where we're slated to go with it. So happy to talk through the details of the purchase and sale agreement if you like. The purchase price for the property is $10 million. Like I said, the property will close within 4 days. And so we would execute the contract on Monday. We'd be owners of it by Friday.
The one thing I'll add, Mayor and Commissioners, there are some covenants and restrictions that are continuing to be discussed with the developer on that, as well as easements. If you look at your screen, you see that the way that this parcel is, what we're acquiring, it's kind of broken up into 4 pieces. And so there's some easements that will get finalized in the coming months as we work through all that with the developer. They need easements from us, we need easements from them that allow all this to function together.
Correct. To that point, Mayor, Commissioners, there is a provision in the contract, Section 34, it's at the very end, that requires us to negotiate a mutually acceptable document and we were to do that as soon as reasonably possible. We have drafts of those. They've been going back and forth. We're waiting right now on comments from RES to make sure that we have fully taken into account their preferences and what it looks like when they're building out their project. But we anticipate that those documents will be before you very soon, within a matter of weeks.
Okay, go ahead.
Question.
Yes.
Since this is the first real leg of the Sapphire Necklace, the design of what we plan to lay out there, when will that be done?
So as part of our negotiations for a contract with RES, of course, we had developed a concept that we use when we talk with the property owners. So we'll be looking at their concept drawings, and we anticipate that the actual wetland restoration project will probably be closer to maybe 500 acres total instead of the 360 for what was this property. So those concepts will go back and forth between RES and the city until we come to an agreement on what the final product will look like. But we anticipate that it'll be pretty close to what we envision.
Gary, what time frame?
I'm supposed to have the first concept Thursday to look at of this week.
That quick?
So we anticipate that we'll probably be negotiating and hopefully have a contract with RES shortly after the first of the year.
Okay.
And we do have the property owner here this evening too. So Frank Bradshaw is here with us this evening, so.
Gary, did we have to get an appraisal done, or did we?
Yes, we had multiple appraisals done on this project, so we did appraisals and the property owners did appraisals, and that's how we kind of came to agreement on a price.
Okay. All for it, go ahead.
If we, or when we move forward with like the trail system out there, or the nature walk, and kind of things that we've talked about, and making this kind of the Circle B of the East, will that easement that's needed there that separates the two main parcels interfere with being able to connect between the south parcel and the north parcel?
No, and Gary, Drew can add to this, that there's development that's expected to occur around this, and certainly access into this nature park component from those residential areas is highly desired by, the development on the land that we're not acquiring. So ingress, egress, easements across properties is the key to that, and that's really what those would look like. So I think that it incorporates ultimately where you have trail systems, connections of trails across property that is not owned by the city, but is there by way of easement.
Right. That's part of our active negotiations, Commissioner. And not just our side is interested in that as well. As T mentioned, the seller is actively interested in that.
Right, so we envision that the main Sapphire Necklace Trail will go on the west side of the property, and then likely within the future development on the east side, there'll be internal trails in that development that will connect to the Sapphire Necklace Trail.
Is there, what was I gonna say? I've already forgot, what was I gonna say? It's escaping me. It'll come back to me.
I just want to.
Oh, go ahead, I'll give you a minute.
Gary, so, long-term, our alternative water supply, that's going to be figured into this as well, and I don't.
That is correct. We have a grant from PepsiCo, $2 million, which we received back late last year to help fund the construction of recharge wells. It's my understanding that RES also has a 1.5 million grant from Coca-Cola to go along those same lines. to recharge the aquifer also. So basically what'll happen is on the northern part of the property, we will be inputting reclaimed water. It'll get that kiss of nature. We'll pull it back out. We'll add some treatment, and then we will recharge the aquifer.
I just want to say that this is such a tremendous project for the city of Winter Haven. This project will be talked about 50 years from now, what we did, what has taken place here, because whether we are around or not, alternative water and the water as we know it today is not going to exist. The cheapness of the water is not going to be there as well. So, I mean, this is really going to pay great dividends to the city of Winter Haven on a long-term basis. And I'm thrilled that it's actually happening. I never thought I would be here to see it happen. And so, and my hat's off to the owners that you've negotiated with, that you all have negotiated with to get this project. It is so tremendous for our city. And so I want to publicly in this agenda review let you know just how excited I am that we are closing on this project.
I thought you were going to preach there for a minute.
Commissioner, I'd like to just add a comment as well to that. The negotiation process for this purchase and sale could not have been a more congenial and I guess one of the words, the word I'm looking for, just a collaborative process. It's usually with purchase and sale agreements, you go back and forth and you jockey for position, but I think both the seller and the city have the same vision for this site, and it definitely shows. It definitely shows.
My question, I just remembered it. Does this get us any closer to getting Sage Road done?
I don't think it ties in directly with Sage Road completion. I think it could have some bearing on what happens with the property that's owned by Paul Schultz. It could certainly be an influencer on long-term development there, which drives then the development of that roadway, but it doesn't have a direct tie-in with that.
Okay. And I want to concur what Mayor Pro Tem Birdsong says. I know the family of the sellers, and they're good people, and we've got good people, and this is a good project. And when this thing finally gets developed and the recreational component comes online, like Commissioner Yates was talking about, throw a couple alligators out there, we're going to have have Yankees coming down from Ohio and Michigan and come out there and see alligators. So,
Mr. Mayor, I consider this to be Winter Haven's next and largest dog park.
you'll have sidewalks in there for me too, right?
No fences, but yeah.
All right. Good deal. All right.
Okay, next item, this is dealing with PFAS, so para and polyfluoroalkyl substances. We've heard so much about this. There are some class action settlements that are out there, primarily tied with 3M and DuPont. And the city is an eligible member within the classes within those class action settlements. There may be others that come about down the road, and we're eligible because, one, we have a water system, and our water system has traces of PFAS in it just the same as any other that's out there. There's some requirements that we will have to do some testing further on that, and where those points of testing are. But this is a recommendation that's coming directly from the city attorney's office, and it has to do with engaging some experts in this area to serve and represent the city when needed. This includes Neil O'Toole with the O'Toole Law Group out of Lakeland, John Trone of Campbell, Trone, Tamayo, and Aranda out of Lakeland, along with the firms of Barron and Budd in Dallas, Texas, and Kosich, Sumich Parciola and Taylor out of Belle Chase, Louisiana. These are attorneys that are expert in these types of matters and would serve as kind of supplements to John and others as we continue to explore what our options are in PFAS litigation and settlements going forward. So actually, I think he's got 4 items in here for approval.
Right.
Which is to approve our continued participation in the class settlements with 3M and DuPont. Those are in the U.S. District Court for the District Court of South Carolina, and authorizing my office to complete and file such claims as necessary. Number 2 is to authorize my office to approve the city joining any class action or multi-district litigation against any party responsible for PFAS contamination. The 3rd is to authorize, again, my office to approve our participation in a future proposed settlement with any other defendant with respect to PFAS contaminations. And then the 4th is to approve the proposed legal services agreement with these individuals. And I think
Yep.
that summarizes it.
Yeah, let me just add a little bit to what T was explaining. This is going to be a flat rate for the attorney's fees. So the local counsel will participate with national counsel in joining in the fee. So there won't be a separate fee arrangement for either one of those. I want to emphasize too, this is just water only at this point. And so I think that's really key to recognize is there are wastewater claims that are going to come at some point. So we don't want to be separated from the class on this. It's certainly not our advice on that. The opt-out date, I think, for the 3M case has already passed. And I think the opt-out date for the DuPont case is at your Monday meeting. So we're part of the phase 2 recovery components of this, and it certainly is something we recommend. Polk County has already gone this way as well. We know Lakeland is considering this, so it's wholeheartedly from John and I that you move forward in this aspect.
Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I just got one question for you. And there's no question that we would need to, pursue. But as it stands right now, there are no substantive guidelines from the feds or the state as to what levels of PFAS that are considered harmful or that you need to go below and that sort of thing.
Gary, can you
Unless
speak to
something has
thresholds?
changed in the last
No,
6 months. Go ahead.
No, you can go, Gary.
So EPA is throwing a number out there of 4 parts per trillion for PFAS. It's a very low number.
Right.
But it's not in rules and regulations yet, so that's still to come. So it's kind of a wait and see what's going to happen.
And there's also still discussion, federal level, of what exemptions, if any, may come across for municipal and governmentally owned water, wastewater type facilities going forward too.
As part of this claim, we will be required to sample each one of our wells. So that is, I've already scheduled that sampling to occur.
Right.
Brian, you got something?
So we, on my league trip up to DC, where we lobbied on multiple items, one of which was the PFAS, and asking for some sort of protection level from the federal level. If that doesn't come to fruition, is us entering into this suit open us up as to potentially stating we have some liability with PFAS? Or, I mean, could it be viewed in that way by us joining this suit? And they say, well, you joined the suit, so obviously you had a problem.
No, I don't think so. So we are part of the suit because we are part of the class. So essentially, I mean, keep that in mind. The opt-out component is that you wish to leave and you wish to either bring your claim by yourself or articulate it something separate from what the class allegations are. The class settlement with 3M and with DuPont should not affect our responsibility under federal regulations. To the extent that I don't see that, and I don't see us becoming somehow liable for, how should I put that? Any claims against us are pass-through claims, right? I mean, that's the best way to put it. I mean, these products are not products of our own making. These are products that are chemical products that we receive that are that have either been processed through either chemicals received at a plant or chemicals in the environment that show up whenever we bring water up in the ground. So it's not I don't anticipate that your concern is, I don't think your concern is something I need to be worried about at this point as far as participating in this class litigation. I'm certainly happy to talk through that a little bit more further with you if you want, but I think that's pretty much where we stand. I mean, it fully comes with our recommendation from our office that we maintain our class membership. We go ahead and accept the Phase 2 settlement as soon as we get all of the confirmation numbers run from Gary's monitoring systems.
Yeah, I agree. We've had no fault in this whatsoever.
No.
That's not what PFAS is or where it came from. It came from others. My concern was just opening ourselves up unintentionally by doing something else.
I hear what you're saying, and I mean, the concern's valid, but I don't think that that's something that I think we need to worry about right now.
I've never heard of implied guilt by joining a lawsuit. That's kind of what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, well, John Morgan hasn't started his PFAS commercial.
He's still trying to gather people that have been left out of the voting for the national championship. But
I joined that suit.
you
by
did,
the way.
okay. Tracy, did you have something?
I think.
As they have, and Gary can confirm this, they have the PFAS level so low that we're probably not going to be exempt. They're telling us we're probably going to have it there. It's just a matter of, we're not responsible for it, but we're going to be the very end of it and responsible for
Just
cleaning it up.
Rub it out. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
So,
I mean, 4 parts per trillion is nothing. I mean, I don't know
Drop
how you
of
can even,
wa-
how can you even measure
Yeah.
that?
That's a drop of water in Rowdy Gaines' pool.
That to me is silly. It's another one of these, pardon my French, these lawyers have just screwed everything up. They're just making us, God bless our lawyers.
PFAS and CFP, what can you say?
I'll tell you something else. PTHMs, which is a byproduct of chlorination disinfectant. That is one of the things, and Gary, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that. If you if you drank 70 gallons of water a week for 70 years, you might have a chance. And that's how they try to reduce it down to such a finite existence, I guess you'd say. So,
I remember that was my mom's excuse for drinking Tab. She had to drink 12 a day for 12 years to catch cancer.
yeah.
And she was only drinking 1. So she says, I'm fine. What else we got? We're digressing here.
That's
Thank you,
it on
Gary.
that. So it's about, just being able to pursue our claim within that those class action suits and then have legal representation.
It's important that we recover.
Okay, so, city manager, you're going to take this
Well,
up?
Yep. John Murphy will present that in any further detail on Monday.
It will be important that we go through each one of those different items, Commission. We're certainly recommending you approve all 4 of those recommendations that are in the staff report.
And Mayor, if we're done with that item, I apologize. I completely skipped over Commissioner Mercer. We had placed an item under Commission Liaison Reports under it's shown as 15A in your printed copy. It may be 16A on the slide deck if it's there, but the recommendation for a Grant and Aid Application Review Committee member, you may recall I shared with you that Alex Cam had to step off of that because of his election to office. And so it was Commissioner Mercer's appointment of Alex Cam. She has wasted no time. She took her assignment wholeheartedly and put a sense of urgency with her, and I'll let her speak to that.
I would like to introduce Melinda Calagrigas. She is a consultant for several of the local businesses downtown, and she's here in the audience if you'd like to stand.
So That's Commissioner Mercer's appointment to that board, so what we'll do is we'll have, from the clerk's office, get a actual formal application out for the committee assignment, and then go through the background checks and everything that goes along with that.
And when will that actually start again? When will they start meeting?
Katrina, when do you think we'll fire up meetings for them?
We'll be doing trainings usually January and February. We meet around early April.
April? Okay.
But it may be helpful for her to attend one of the training sessions, just so to understand that process.
You want to do your report